Hi everybody, this is Reza with Captain's Aviation. So this would be the second video of iGyro, and in this video I'm going to show you how to set it up until to the point that you have to take it to the field and actually test and set the gains in flight. So we'll pretty much cover everything up until the flight basically session. Three things you need to know and you need to understand. That makes it a lot easier when I go through the features and set up menus, is the three switches that you need to set up. One switch is for flight mode, the other two switches are for the gains, normal gain and heading gain. And so what you do, you go and you assign a switch for your flight mode, let's say channel 9, and you go to your mapping and say, okay, channel 9 is my flight mode switch. That's the switch that turns it off, so no gyro, heading mode, or normal mode. Actually, it goes to normal and heading. So those three switches are the most important things you need to understand. The very first thing, though, when you mount this, the gyro in your fuselage, is you have to let the gyro know how the gyro is mounted with respect to the fuselage in the airframe. That's because you have XYZ, so you want the gyro to understand how your XYZ are monitored. And for that, you have to go to the menu and select that. It's the general settings. We'll go over that as well. So once you set up those three switches that I told you, and you basically check for the directions of the response, gyro response, to make sure the direction of the gyro response is correct, then you are absolutely ready to go to the field. So this is very simple. Just keep in mind what I told you, and we're going to go over it through the menu and see what needs to be done before we get to the flight session. So bear with me 1 second. Alright, let's set up the switches. This is JR12X. We're going to device select. I have aux 3, 4, and 5. These are the three switches representing the two gains and one flight mode. My aux 4 rudder switch, which is right here for me, right, this guy, is my flight mode switch. My aux 3 flap lever, actually, here we go, this guy right here is my heading switch. So this is the switch, the lever I'm using for heading gain. And aux 5, let's go in opposite direction, is the other slider on the left side. That's my normal gain. Once you have those three switches assigned, and those have to have a travel from minus 100% to plus 100%. Here we go, aux 3, or plus to minus, doesn't matter, plus, minus, aux 3, 4, and 5. Okay? Now, I think I did make mention of this in the first video. If I didn't, let's turn on the iGyro with the radio being on. Okay, let's see what's going on. Flight mode 1, searching for GPS. Once it finds the GPS, it'll say logged in. It may take a little time. Sometimes it logs in immediately, sometimes it searches a little while. Anyhow, what I wanted to say is, right now it's flight mode 1. When I switch my rudder switch, it goes to, this is the flight mode switch, goes to flight mode 2, which is the normal, and 3 is the heading mode. Now, if you wanted to reverse the direction of the switch, all you have to do is just go to your switch, reverse switch menu, and reverse it in the transmitter, and it'll do that for you. Okay, found the GPS logged in. We're okay. We're done. So let's get going. Let's go to the menu. The first thing we want to do, we want to give it the direction of the direction that the gyro is mounted. So we're going to general settings. Screen is up and down. That is correct. Switch, meaning the ports, your servo ports right here. Let me see, right here. The servo ports, they're facing up, back, and front, which is forward and aft. So this is correct. If this was left and right, you had to change it. If your gyro was if you rotate the gyro 90 degrees, then your switches would be facing left and right. So you have to go through that menu and change that to left and right. The PC control is for updating the iGyro. The delta wing is if you have a delta wing, or VTEL, same way. We're not dealing with those things right now on this airplane, so let's move on. So we have the correct position of the gyro. Alright, so we went to general settings, and we selected the correct position of the iGyro with respect to the fuselage. Now let's go to gyro settings and make sure that we have the correct output from the gyro with respect to the attitude of the plane in the air. That's that's one of the most important things, because if you get it wrong, let's say you have to have up elevator to adjust for the correct attitude to keep the plane in line, and it gives you down elevator instead. So we have to make sure that the direction of the iGyro response is correct. For that, we'll go to gyro settings. Okay, the axis, we have to check it for all three axes. We have rudder. If you select, you can change it to elevator B and A, aileron A and B. In this case, I'm just going to do rudder. I don't have the wings on. We could do both elevator and rudder, but just look at the rudder and see how it looks like. My flight mode is active. It's flight mode 2, which is the normal mode. Direction normal. So let's experiment this. If the nose of the plane goes to the left, you want right rudder to bring it back to a straight line. So let's say you're taking off and the plane is going to the left, you need right rudder to compensate. Let's see if I'm going to the left, if I'm going to get right rudder here. Let's see. Nothing. What did I do wrong? 1 second. Okay, well, we had to make sure that we have the correct gain. At 0 gain, it wouldn't be doing anything, I guess. Okay, here we go. Nose is going to the left. I get a momentary right rudder. See that? So I'm going to the left, nose going to the left. I'm getting right rudder, nose going to the right. I'm getting left rudder. Beautiful. So that works. So that direction at normal is okay. If this was going opposite direction, then we had to change it to reverse direction. Okay, so that's very important. You have to check this for every single control surface before you actually go get a flight. Now let's go back one step, and it's okay, so we know how to do this. Alright. So elevator, aileron A, aileron B, elevator A, elevator B, and the rudder. Okay. So again, we do this for the elevator as well. You pick up the tail, and you need to see some up elevator, and vice versa when the tail comes down. Let's keep it on the rudder for now. It's a single control surface, easy to. How do you adjust your gain in the air? That's the next step we're going to look at. Go to input mapping. Okay. We've already set those up, so those are okay. We're not going to touch them. This is where those two slider switches come into play. And in my case, I have channel 10 and channel 8 assigned for these two sliders. Channel 10 for me is for normal gain, and channel 8 is for heading gain. Let's say we're going to take a flight and only adjust for the rudder. So leave these at 0. Aileron A and B for both normal and heading stays at 0. Elevator stays at 0 because we want to make the adjustment on the rudder. The rudder 10, that's channel 10 for the normal gain, and channel 8 for the heading gain. Alright, sounds good. And my flight mode was on channel 9. Yours can be any channel you want. my channel 9 is assigned to flight mode. Okay, so let's go back to gyro settings. Now we know my rudder is already set up with the slider switches, and these slider switches are adjusting your gain in flight. Gyro settings. Here we go. Alright, I'm already on flight mode 2. Okay. Here's my radio, and this is my normal mode. This slider switch here is at 0 gain, and all the way up is 100%. Look how it changes on the screen. That's another way for you to, to know that you've done the correct settings. 50, all the way to 100. Okay. Now if I go to flight mode 3, I did. Okay, and I'm going to change this slider on flight mode 3. Here we go. It's changing number. So we know the sliders are working properly with respect to gain for the rudder. Now once you do this setting up, okay, so we know the slider switches are working properly for the gain, for normal and heading gain. That's something that you would have to use when you're flying. Once you're done flying and you've already, adjusted for your rudder, then you come down for whatever, with whatever normal percentage and heading percentage gain that you have. You go to input mapping. Okay, you will, once you're done flying, you will zero out your normal gain. So next time when you go up, you're not going to be changing the gain. That gain is already memorized into iGyro. Okay, right? So we go back up. Let's say next flight will be testing or adjusting for the aileron. This has to go to, in my case, 10. Okay, and I have 2 wings, so, and for the gain, 8. Okay, now my slider switches will be adjusting the gain for the aileron left and right, or right and left. Let's go back. It's easily shown on gyro settings. Now if I go to axis, aileron, and I change my flight mode, okay, here we go. The gain, normal gain for on the slider switch, that's how you're adjusting. Okay, and if I go flight mode 3, that shows you the adjustment. Again, I'm repeating myself, make sure you get the direction right. In my case, on the aileron, the direction was reverse when I had the wings on. So yours might be normal. You have to check on that. Alright, so now we know enough to be able to go to the field and get a trimming flight. One thing to keep in mind, you have to get a flight before you even get to the gyro adjustment and trim the airplane if this is the airplane's first flight. If this airplane was already flown before and it's already trimmed, then you don't have to do that. You can just fly with the trim already in the radio and activate your flight mode, and with the proper slider switch, make adjustment to your gain to get the proper tracking without any oscillation. Then do that for the heading, and then you land and basically go to the next control surface. So having said that, if you fly and you accidentally give your airplane some trim, you have to reset your gyro and start over again. Alright, so this concludes video number 2. Video number 3 will be at the field, and hopefully will some pointers on how to do the trimming up in the air. Catch you guys later. Have fun flying.